Coming up on Tech News today, big news from the Consumer Electronics Show 2011 in Las Vegas. Skype might be buying Quick, and we think we know why. Also, not from CES, the Mac App Store opens up. We take a look at that and share our thoughts. And we find out why Brian Brushwood is a 4G virgin. It's all coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, January 6, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford and voice-activated Sync with MyFord Touch. Make calls, play music, and more with Sync with MyFord Touch. Available exclusively on Ford and Lincoln vehicles. For more information and online demos, visit syncmyridepodcast.com. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off the lifetime of your new account, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code TNT. And by Gazelle, the easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office. For a 5% bonus payment for your used gadgets, go to Gazelle.com, bonus code TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Brian Brushwood.
And we are live at the Consumer Electronics Show 2011, joined by some very fine guests today from the Tech Stuff podcast on HowStuffWorks.com, John Strickland.
Howdy, howdy.
You're in person instead of on Skype.
I know. It's a different background.
Can you...
Every time, different background.
Like this... So
yeah.
You could,
I'm not any more.
See, it's an accent. It's actually not Skype delay. Also joining us, Ian Morris from CNET UK.
Hello.
It wouldn't be CES without me doing a technology podcast with Ian Morris.
Except no one else knows who I am. I'm a loner, a Brit
All the people
abroad.
who've watched Buzz Out Loud every year from CES know exactly who you are.
And of course, everyone's a big fan of the CNET UK podcast.
And they should be, actually. You guys are brilliant.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Thanks for being on today. We got a ton of stories to blaze through, as usual. Not as organized as yesterday. Yesterday was all, well, this press conference happened. Now we've got some press conferences. We got some wild releases. Brian and I were over in the Central Hall, saw some cool stuff this morning on the show floor.
This is like the point at CES when all of a sudden one of the favorite songs get played at the concert, and all of a sudden it just becomes a mosh pit. And it's like you're not seeing anything in order. Everything's just crazy. Just get what you can while you can.
If you watched Tech News Today yesterday and you saw me on my little, eyesight camera with the construction noise in the background, this is what they were building back here, and now it's full of people and sound, and it's actually a little quieter than it was yesterday.
Because at least the sound is all people demoing their bass instead of high-pitched drills running in the background.
It could be worse.
Big news to start out with. Skype has announced that they are acquiring Quick, the mobile video specialist. Ian, why would they do this? It makes sense that they're both video, but how are they going to incorporate them?
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense because they need video specialists on board, to get that. I mean, Skype video is very good. I've been using it here to keep in touch with the family back home while I've been, swanning around circus. But, the video quality could definitely be better. And Quick, I think that is a more competent service, I think, personally. So it's good to see, and I think, it's one of those things that it can only be a good thing, really.
Do you think we'll see a Skype service where you can broadcast, John?
I certainly hope so. I mean, enough of us have been using it essentially to do that for the last
Just not
year.
from our mobile devices, right? But we just got video calling on Skype. Now we might actually get a quick broadcaster integrated into Skype.
And you're hearing about Skype getting integrated into more and more devices. I mean, on the floor here, like every hour it seems like there's another announcement. And Skype's playing a big role in a ton of those.
But keep in mind, isn't Quick more than just mobile broadcast? I mean, you can go live from your PC, so it could be that they're setting up. Everybody's already using Skype in their Ustream shows, on their Justin.tv shows. Why not cut out the middleman and all of a sudden try to muscle out both of those big boys?
Absolutely. Also a big day for the Apple users, especially OS X Snow Leopard users. The Mac App Store launches. Pretty impressive looking. Have you seen the App Store yet? Have you installed
haven't.
it?
I got a message from my editor who he's actually writing about this right now, and all the message said was, Angry Birds for Mac.
That is the top paid app. Angry Birds, $5. That's what everyone is buying.
I don't expect.
Yeah.
Really?
I'll never hear from him ever again.
This is the brilliance of the Mac App Store. People are going to pay for software that they never would have paid for otherwise.
Which is free on Android. You know, I can play Angry Birds on my Galaxy Tab.
Yeah.
No charge.
And there's a free version for the iPad, free version for the iPhone. No free version of Angry Birds on the Mac App Store. There is a free version of Twitter, though.
Well, I'll tell you, the most curious line out of the entire Wired article that we linked to here is that it says, this is clearly aimed at novice users who may have never actually downloaded or installed third-party software before.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked that they would recognize that I wouldn't even believe those people existed, much less that they would develop a platform just to reach them. And of course, as everything else Apple does, it's probably going to be a money-making machine.
I tried it out this morning, and I ran into a bug that several other people have, where you try to download something and it gives you an error saying you couldn't complete the request. Folks are saying if you just close the App Store and restart it, that works. That's what worked for me. Other people have said you have to actually restart your whole computer. I didn't have to do that. I just restarted the App Store and it seemed to be fine. But I did have a hard time downloading it. It was overwhelmed.
Everyone's queuing up to buy $5 Angry Birds.
Exactly. Or download Twitter, which you can get on your web browser. All right. So the App Store is there, and also some of the purchases are cheaper. You can get Pages, you can get the presentation apps for a lot cheaper than you would if you bought them. In fact, you can go to the Apple Store, and I think you pay like $200 for Aperture. It's $80 in the new Mac App Store.
That's fantastic, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Is this the end of? I mean, are they really trying to knife the retail stores properly now? Is this?
I mean, when it comes to software, I'm okay with that. I mean, is there anything that's so great about buying, Dead Tree editions and throwing away boxes and having people
and
pressure you into buying software that's not appropriate for you? I mean,
no, but I can just download stuff at opensourcemac.org or go to my favorite site and buy direct.
That'll continue to live, but I think that there's a divide. There's a dollar value to people who don't want to understand how to navigate the web to get the stuff for free. And for those people, they're like, $3, sure, easy, it's on. And, why not make the money off of it?
Probably the product announcement that's making the most waves right now is from Motorola, because their Xoom tablet, which we've talked about before, XOOM, was here. I actually got to touch it last night at Digital Experience. They wouldn't let me actually hold it or do the demo on video, but I'm not John Strickland.
The key is not to ask.
Just take it out of their hands.
Well, she was holding it like this. It's really light. I'm like, really? She says, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, oh, you're right, it's light.
How am I supposed to tell it's light otherwise?
That was the extent of my experience, hands-on experience with the Xoom. It is a really cool device. I was really impressed with it.
And the big attraction to it is that it is running Honeycomb. And It's not just supposed to run Honeycomb. We've got a lot of tablets say, yeah, when we release it, it'll run Honeycomb. This is Froyo right here, or maybe even a gingerbread. This is running the current beta release of Honeycomb, which is why they don't want you to touch it.
Right.
And so in that brief moment when you got an exclusive insight, like what can you describe about the way it felt?
There was a light that came down and an angelic choir. It felt good.
Well, to me, light often is unfortunately synonymous with flimsy. Did it feel flimsy?
No, it didn't feel flimsy.
Okay.
It didn't feel flimsy. It felt like it was a well-designed device to me. I mean, I'm not a tablet user yet, but this is the sort of thing where just from the feel of it, I was thinking, well, the feel is good. I don't know what the experience is at all because, again, they don't want you messing with it. They could only show a few of the features on the device, and when you would ask about other ones, they'd say, yeah, I can't really show you that to you. They could navigate to the Google page on the web browser, but they weren't really going to the other
and that's
pages.
fair. I mean, Honeycomb is in such a beta state right now that it's not going to work right, and then it's going to fail, and everyone's going to say, oh, your tablet sucks.
Right. I think it's much better to take a careful, measured approach that rather than just, throw all caution to the wind and hope everything works perfectly in a prototype.
Have you used the BlackBerry Playbook? Can you compare the two?
I wish I could. I have not actually seen the Playbook in person.
This is the thing. People who've used the Playbook have not used the Xoom.
I've used both of them.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well,
You're the only living human.
I got to touch the Xoom once, and I actually got to hold briefly the Playbook.
I'm pretty sure that means you got used by both of them.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't tell us which is better feeling, which is the one.
Well, the Playbook's much smaller.
Yeah.
It does real multitasking instead of the pause multitasking, and they both have no buttons.
Yeah.
It's all touchscreen, so they're one-ups. They've one-upped Steve Jobs there.
Now, there is one thing that you can gauge, even from the short experience that both of you guys had. I know that when it comes to a lot of the Android tablets, the first thing everyone notices is how much smaller they are than the iPad. Given that it has has like
Oh,
what,
no,
a
the
10 and
Zoom
a
is
half
10 inch,
That's what I was
yeah.
about to say. Is because it's got that
Looks
10
like
inch
an
display.
iPad.
So did that feel, or did that look right to your eyes in a way that the other ones don't?
It looked like an iPad device, whereas the Playbook, the Galaxy Tab, they look like a different device, not something that you.
Galaxy Tab.
Yeah. It's not something that you would necessarily consider exactly a replacement for the iPad. Motorola intends to ship the Xoom during the first quarter of 2011. Update it in the second quarter. It'll be the first LTE tablet on Verizon's network, and probably the most high-profile honeycomb launch you'll see. Also, Motorola Atrix 4G. We mentioned that yesterday. The superphone. Motorola's coming out with a multimedia dock and a laptop dock. The multimedia dock attaches the Atrix to your television, so you can play the HD video straight from the Atrix phone onto the television. The laptop dock is not a dock for a laptop. It's a dock that turns the Atrix into a laptop.
Yeah.
I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah, it all runs off the phone. It was the weirdest thing to look at. I mean, because it had the phone sticking on the back, then you lift the laptop screen up. Really, they were saying that essentially the laptop is just the case, the screen, the keyboard, and a battery, and then everything else is running off the phone. Really interesting approach.
Yeah.
Well, and I suppose there's no reason it can't. I mean, it's hard to acknowledge aesthetically that a device this small really could have enough power that you could have a large screen experience with.
11.6-inch display, 2 USB ports, a nice keyboard, trackpad with 2-finger scrolling, windowed displays from the Android on Atrix. All of a sudden you're using a netbook for all intents and purposes once you plug it in. And we don't have any sort of idea of when it's going to ship, what the price is going to be, so we may never ever see this thing.
As
like
with so many
things
objects
at CES.
debuted at CES.
Well, Tom, we've seen it.
You and I have seen it, yeah. That's all you need.
Humans that get to.
And by the way, the WebTop application is really what is going on here. WebTop application runs in the tablet and allows the Atrix phone to play nicely. They say that application could be ported to other Android phones. They don't have any stated plans for that, but it's something that you could buy the laptop and change phones and eventually use different phones with that. Also, the WebTop app saves the state from plug-in to plug-in. So if you were in the middle of, say, a Word document, or you were playing a video or something, it'll know that stuff when you plug it back in the next time.
So that way it feels as though you walked away from that computer, had a different experience with your phone, and came back to that computer.
Exactly. Google demoed Honeycomb on the Motorola Xoom, by the way, at the Verizon press conference today. All right, let's take a quick break before we get into more CES news. I want to thank Ford and makers of voice-activated sync and MyFord Touch for helping bring our coverage of CES 2011 right here on TWiT to you, as well as Tech News Today. You know about sync. We talked about it. You jump in the car. It's voice-activated. You just keep your eyes on the road, your hands on the wheel. It's the safest way to text while driving. In fact, it's the only safe way to text while driving I could think
Outside of the spouse. It's the next best thing to having
for
a spouse.
you to do it.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
the only way you can do it.
If you have voice-activated spouse, then that's a different thing. But Sync with MyFord Touch connects you to your vehicle in new ways. MyFord Touch is the touch screen. There's an LCD in the center stack, and then 2 5-way switch pads on the steering wheel, and a total of 3 LCD screens. 2 on each side, and you can switch seamlessly from your voice activation to the touch. So if you're messing with your playlist by voice, and then you pull into the parking lot, you can go right to the touch and start picking up right where you left off. You can even be voicing a text message. Go to the MyFord Touch. MyFord Touch allows you to customize the cabin, things like that. You can switch between voice commands and touch control on the fly. 10,000 voice commands. Available exclusively at Ford and Lincoln dealers. We invite you to experience Sync with MyFord Touch. Stop by a Ford dealer near you and view the online demo at syncmyridepodcast.com. Thanks to Ford for supporting our special coverage of CES. And speaking of CES, Verizon had their keynote this morning and pretty much said,
Hooray!
We like 4G and fast Fios. There wasn't a whole lot. Everyone thought, well, maybe there's that small chance of an iPhone announced, but we didn't get anything like that.
Keep dreaming, guys.
What was more interesting was the Verizon press conference later in the day, where we finally got to see the HTC Thunderbolt and the LG Revolution phones. These are 4G phones for Verizon.
Sweet.
Did anybody get hands-on, or do we
They debuted later in the day, so I've been here at the booth. But 4.3-inch LTE handsets coming to the network. Both of them have had a lot of rumors out in advance, and it looks like they're pretty much the same as the rumors. Thunderbolt has Skype video calling, Android 2.2 preloaded on the Revolution, and they both. The Thunderbolt boasts a Super LCD display and an 8-megapixel camera, HD video recording. So Verizon's starting to finally show off their 4G phones. Also, Verizon Samsung Galaxy Tab.
Hurrah!
With LTE built in.
That is exciting times, I have to say. I mean, I have fallen totally in love with the Galaxy Tab. It is a lovely device to have. I used it on the plane over, watched a load of video, had a great time, wasn't stressed. And back home when I can actually use it on a 3G network rather than the punitive cost of using it abroad, it's superb. It's just the best thing I've ever had.
No word on pricing or release date for that one. Samsung also announcing 4G LTE mobile hotspot. This is a MiFi-like device. This is not from Novatel, though. This is from Samsung, but it's similar to the Sprint Overdrive in that it can do both 3G and 4G.
I would love to have one of these LTE devices today, because the 3G networks and Wi-Fi hotspots here are so overwhelmed. It would be nice to be on a network.
But the in Las Vegas has been pretty reliable, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm using it right now on a USB card, and you guys are sharing the internet over a hotspot, the Sprint Overdrive.
Well, and that's the surprising thing to me is that it hasn't been a case where it's like we all have 4 and 5 bars. The signal strength is great. It's just that everybody is sucking down the bandwidth so fast.
Yeah.
And this, the Verizon hotspot from Samsung also looks like a MiFi. It's got that Verizon look to it. Has a couple of LEDs on the front that'll tell you whether you're getting a 4G or a 3G signal, and nicely tells you if it's broadcasting in Wi-Fi, which the MiFi does not do. Finally, Samsung seemed to be tied in with most of the good Verizon announcement. They've announced the Samsung Android smartphone with LTE. It doesn't have a name yet, but it does have a Super AMOLED Plus display. AMOLED Plus.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Super AMOLED Plus. Well, because AMOLED needed a Super to become better.
Oh, yeah.
And now they've added a Plus.
Next
where
up
are they
is
going to go next?
Super AMOLED Plus Turbo EX SE version.
Turbo.
So it
version 2.
becomes Street Fighter. Is
Exactly.
what
That's where I always go
Fighter
to. It becomes, yes.
What it actually does is it gives you a little better contrast, so it's better looking outdoors than the Super AMOLED. You've got TouchWiz skinned Android 2.2, 8 megapixel. 8 megapixel seems to be the new standard.
8
All of these phones
megapixel
seem
is
to
the new
have
2
it.
megapixel.
Or the new 5 megapixel.
Well, yeah, 5 megapixel
Was the new 2 megapixel.
Was the new, yeah.
I think 5 megapixel is now the new black.
Sony had their press conference last night, and right after Tech News Today was done.
And it was awful.
Were you there?
So boring. I mean, they brought out some famous people, and we love famous people.
But they talked about 3D being important.
They did talk about 3D, and the best thing that Sony's got at their stand this year is these sort of goggles you put on, and it's 3D, 2 eyes, it's a fantastic thing. But their press conference just went on and on and on, and and they didn't have a lot to say, I didn't think, personally.
Was there ever the slightest kick in the pants the entire time?
In what, sorry?
Like, ever the slightest, jump, like, like...
Yeah, the end was good when it all came crashing to an end. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're really into 3D, they kept stopping it and saying, right, we're going to show a video now, put your 3D glasses back on. And we had this big screen, and it wasn't doing 3D properly. It was a poor showcase of the technology. It was very slick, but it just didn't have any heart. I've been to better conferences. But
I think probably the most interesting part of the announcement was the talk about Curiosity and how they're expanding that into a music upload service.
Now that music service looks fantastic. I mean, it's such a slick device, especially on the PS3 as they demoed it. Really exciting stuff.
This explains to me why there is no Apple cloud streaming and Spotify has been kept out of the United States, because companies like Sony are like, no, we want to make the money directly off this stuff.
Yeah.
Time Warner was a buddy of Verizon. They were on stage with Verizon during their keynote saying things like, you know what, we're going to make sure you can get video on everything with DRM on it. They didn't say the part about DRM on it. But the Time Warner Cable VOD box is also coming to Sony Bravia HD TVs without a cable box. So they're integrating the Time Warner Cable Video on Demand service within the television. If you buy this Sony Bravia and you have Time Warner Cable, then you don't need a box. Seems like a pretty niche market.
Yeah, let me tell you, I may be in the minority here, but I don't want my television to be anything but a monitor. The more of this junk they try to throw on every TV, the more disappointed I am, because it always runs slower than a separate set-top box would. It always is more complicated, and it always confuses my Harmony remote. I'd much rather say, you do nothing but make pretty pictures for me. Let all these individual boxes do the awesome stuff.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but in the UK, cable boxes are not the most reliable things, and the last thing you want to do if your cable box goes down for any reason, you don't want to have to replace, get a new TV in while you get it fixed. Or
now that I think about it, I have had to replace my set-top box a number of times.
I think most people have, so that could be a disaster. But or it may just be not a problem. But
I do wish that they would build DVRs into televisions.
Some have tried.
No,
certainly
not
in the
me.
UK, we've had Freeview recorders built in, but people just don't know they're there. It's very hard to explain to the consumer that there's a recorder in this thing. You press record and it goes. They've never seen it. They don't get it.
I want to get back to the day when you just buy your television and it does everything. It's got the tuner in it and all of that stuff. But you say no.
Well, we will be back at that day, but it will not have anything to do with the televisions changing what they do. It'll be a new box. It's what I hoped Google TV would have been. Google TV would have been the box that brings you that old school TV experience of here's what's on, what do you like, and everything would be easy. But for right now, we're going through a transition period. Everything is becoming very fractious, but there will be intelligent software and the ability to choose what you want, and we'll get back to that. We'll get back to the grandma TV watching experience, but it's just gonna take a little more development, and it's not gonna come from TVs adding more idiotic bells and whistles.
T-Mobile had their press conference, and they're starting to get a little testy about people saying they're not 4G just because they have HSPA+.
Shut up, man.
They are doubling their capacity, starting today with a test in Las Vegas, to 42 megabits per second on HSPA+.
And then they announced that their dad stormed the beaches of Normandy, and then they punched Verizon in the nose.
And then they told Ian, you'd be speaking German if it wasn't for T-Mobile's HSPA+.
That's right.
I'd love to see any mobile service hit anything near 48 megabits per second. It's a dream.
They played online Need for Speed and said it worked, but
if no one else is on the system, if it's uncontended, I'm not surprised.
As a T-Mobile customer, I just want to say thank you. I'm not with these guys.
Well, I'm a T-Mobile customer as well, but a press conference is in another country. They don't serve me.
Fully 2/3 of its 200 million people will find the new speeds by the end of the year, they promise. So hopefully you'll be among those 2/3, John. On to another T-Mobile announcement. Dell unveils the Streak tablet. This is
Stop laughing at the names. I'm done laughing at names. All of the names sound stupid until they sound not so stupid.
I'm not laughing at the names. I'm laughing at news item that ends with tablet.
Oh, okay.
I told people that if you really want to know what the news of CES is this year, just pick any technology company name and add is coming out with a tablet.
Well, if you want to make it complete, it has to be take any object. For example, RCA has a fantastic new microwave that is fully equipped with social media, 3D, and tablets. It's incredible.
That is insanity.
The difference of the Dell Streak tablet is it's meant for the Generation Y crowd.
Thank goodness.
That's the one
versus
behind
the
mine.
other ones. Runs Android 2.2, 7-inch multi-touch display capable of running Flash games like Farmville, Wi-Fi, and support for T-Mobile's HSPA+, so it's got the fast internet. And it looks like this will be, I don't know, I'm trying to look for a price.
$1 million.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around $500.
$1 million yen.
Probably something in yen. Microsoft had their keynote address from Steve Ballmer last night and didn't really shake anything up. Announced a lot of things we expected based on their press conference and some rumors. They did announce that Windows will be made for ARM, which we talked about
that was
in
a
yesterday's show.
pretty big announcement.
Pretty big announcement. They talked, and that was pretty much all they talked about with Windows 8. They talked about the success of the Kinect sales, and they released Avatar Connect for Xbox Live Gold subscribers so that you can have a full avatar of yourself online and do chats that'll follow your motions and your facial expressions.
There's only one application I can think of for this, and this is for people who want to talk to someone else but who are ashamed of their body and don't want to actually be looked at by this person, in which case these avatars are not sexy enough to pull off the application. The only application I can imagine is good for them.
What I thought was interesting is that, if you've been following the hacks that people have been doing with the Kinect, the really cool ones, we've already seen some digital puppetry, which is really what this is.
Yes.
When you get down to it, it's digital puppetry where you're using real-life motions. You're creating a virtual character in real time that mimics what you're doing in real space. So it almost felt like Microsoft was saying, hey, we can also do what those hackers are doing. And that took a little bit of the oomph out of the announcement for me.
They also talked a bit about Windows Phone 7. They did not announce a Microsoft Google TV a competitor. And that was the big rumor that they were going to unveil that. Maybe it'll still be unveiled later this week, but that did not come. But the ARM announcement, I thought that was the story out of Microsoft.
Well, especially the follow-up with NVIDIA announcing that they plan to do big, beefy
WinVidia
ARM.
instead of Wintel.
It's coming.
You know what? One thing that was kind of cool was the Microsoft Surface. They talked about it in the press conference yesterday. We didn't mention it on TNT. But what they've done is they've taken a super tough piece of Gorilla Glass, and instead of mounting cameras underneath it, they've made every pixel in the table a camera.
Oh, wow.
So that it senses you pixel by pixel, giving much more precise control and making for a much thinner tabletop.
And it could actually read text that was written on a piece of paper, right? You could write something on a piece of paper, lay it on the Surface, and it could read what you
instantly scan it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And another minor announcement from Microsoft if you don't want to miss, Netflix and Hulu Plus with Kinect coming this spring to the Xbox 360. So when I say, Netflix and Hulu Plus already coming to Microsoft, you knew that with Kinect. So you'll have the ability to
Xbox pause, Xbox
do all
track.
the voice controls, do the hand controls, all of that sort of thing. All right, want to take a quick break and thank our other sponsor for today's show, Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. I use it for Forecast Podcasts. We use it for Sword and Laser. It's an easy way to get a website started. You got a website idea?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was going to make a website called TVs Should Just Be Monitors.squarespace.com.
You could do that in you could do that while we're talking.
You know what? In fact, it should feature photos of me very angry punching televisions because they get upset with all their gadgetry and their stuff.
That's the kind of thing that'll catch on.
Yeah.
The nice thing about Squarespace is it monitors the bandwidth for you. So you pay for it, it's done. You don't have to pay extra for when you get really popular pictures of Brian punching televisions.
It's going to explode. It's the new lolcat.
And it's easy to use UI. You can set it up really quick. You don't have to know any CSS. If you do know code and you want to get in there, you can tweak that as well. They've got multiple views, lots of ways to embed Flickr pictures and all of that. So I don't know. I think you should try it. You can try it out for free. You can even export your current blog from TypePad, WordPress, Blogger, and import it into Squarespace to give it a shot. You don't have to lose any of your blog posts. And then or if you want to start from scratch, maybe a competitor site to Brian's kicking TV site.
Well, keep in mind also...
I kick smartphone site.
Tom kicks smartphones.
Yeah.
Squarespace.com.
Right.
Might already be taken, might be up here in seconds. But the two things I like to remind people about Squarespace is, first of all, the 2-week trial is totally free. They do not even ask for a credit card. You can have it live online in less than 30 seconds, and the templates, the built-in templates, look phenomenal. So it always looks like a pro developed your site.
Oh, yeah. At Forecast Podcast, we just went with a template. And it was like, that's brilliant. We tweaked it since then and made it even better. But you could look really good right out of the gate. If you decide to purchase Squarespace, use the offer code TNT to get 10% off the lifetime of your account. So it's an incentive to stay healthy, because you will not pay more than 10%.
The longer you live, the more money you save.
That's squarespace.com. Use the offer code TNT. Time now for our special news fuse, the CES Las Fuses. Israel company PowerMat, which makes a pad that can power up most gadgets lying on top. You just lay it down when you have the special thing around it, wirelessly charges, is now investing $5 million getting $5 million from GM Ventures to integrate PowerMat into the Chevy Volt and eventually other GM cars. They've got an exclusive commercial agreement. We took a look at it actually over on the show floor. It looked pretty nice. You do want your devices to be tied down, so they have it in the cup holder. That way you can just keep it stable.
Which I think makes sense, because you don't want to take a turn and have it go rolling off the dash.
Absolutely.
Sprint is offering a 4G version of RIM's Playbook tablet as soon as this summer, while the Wi-Fi-only Playbook users will be able to tether their device to their BlackBerries. These announcements came out of the CES, where RIM revealed more, but not all, about its 7-inch entry into the tablet market.
So the Motorola Droid Bionic is the Verizon version of AT&T's Motorola Atrix. Now, it does not have the ability to dock with that laptop docking device we talked about earlier, but it has an 8-megapixel camera, and you should be able to make Skype video calls on it pretty soon.
Nice. Boxee is announcing a deal with CBS that will allow it to stream full episodes through its over-the-top player as part of the appearance at the Consumer Electronics Show. The deal with CBS is big for Boxee. Instead of trying to get things through Hulu, they're going to be getting them directly from the network. However, Boxee users won't be able to just stream any program. They'll have to buy individual episodes directly. Then they'll be able to view the stream. Boxee is also showing off an iPad app here.
In other Boxee news, there is a new development from ViewSonic, was showing off its new TV featuring the Boxee software and the requisite Intel CE4100 processor built in. It didn't appear to integrate into live TV or other inputs into the Boxee software, instead opting to run the software as its own app, giving you pretty much the same experience as the Boxee box, minus the box, of course. TV should be available early Q2.
And did you want to read the Panasonic one?
I'm lost.
Yeah, we
That's how fast the fuse
jumped
is.
around you.
Yeah.
You missed orientation.
It's all new to me. It's confusing.
As the connected TV battle continues to heat up, Panasonic is arming its Viera platform by bringing in allies dubbed Viera Connect. It builds on the old VieraCast system by opening up the SDK to developers and increasing the audience by opening up access to its middleware and market for other device manufacturers. Follows somewhere between Samsung's more closed Samsung apps experience and the Google TV approach. Panasonic's 2011 TVs and Blu-ray players will come out of the gate with apps like MLB TV, Hulu Plus, NBA Game Time, Asphalt 5, Tetris, and a bunch of others. All right, time now for the non-CES news fuse. According to South Korea's Cyber Terror Response Center, they've gone through the hard drives that they seized from Google last summer and discovered emails, instant messages, and other private data sent over Wi-Fi networks. This is bad news for Google, as it means that they have probably violated several laws in the country. But whether those drives hold similar information or not, it's clear that Google is in trouble.
The botnet, fingered for stealing a treasure trove of information last year, has struck again, harvesting sensitive documents from dozens of government agencies and contractors, according to a pair of security experts. The botnet, dubbed Knebber by Alex Cox, principal research analyst at NetWitness, was behind a campaign of fake Christmas emails waged for 2 weeks ago against government workers. How do you wage a campaign of fake Christmas emails?
I'm waging email.
Cheerfully, I would imagine. So Google Apps customers can now sign outgoing email using Domain Keys Identified Mail, or DKIM, and that reassures your contact that you're really who you say you are. And Google's been using this since 2008 to show Gmail users when incoming mail is really from places like PayPal and eBay, and now it's available to all Google Apps customers.
Well, if you're thinking about developing a game involving a database-driven online distributed tournament system, you better talk to Warner Digital or risk a lawsuit. That's because Warner Digital claims to have patented that invention in 2002. The patent in question has resulted in some legal matters for the makers of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and 2, Call of Duty Black Ops, Call of Duty World War, you get the idea, don't you? And many others.
You made him read that just so you could hear patent, didn't you?
Kind of
That's
did.
patently untrue. I'll not listen to that accusation.
Up with that, I will not put. The amount of junk email being sent across the globe has seen a dramatic fall in recent months. It's dropped steadily since August, but over the December holidays saw a precipitous decline. One security firm detected around 200 billion spam messages being sent each day in August, and that has dropped to just 50 billion in December. They think it's a combination of getting rid of some botnets and spammers realizing that there are more lucrative ways to go about stealing identities and stealing credit card information than sending out spam.
So thank goodness, ?
Spam's not good business anymore.
Microsoft said today it will release 2 security bulletins next week fixing 3 holes in Windows, but is still investigating or working on fixing holes in Internet Explorer that have been reportedly exploited in attacks.
All right. Thank you, folks, for assisting. Sorry for the confusion.
That's okay. It's because I'm British and jet lagged.
Those are both acceptable excuses.
Yeah.
On to the calendar. AT&T is going to cut the price of the iPhone 3GS. We actually talked recently about the fact that, well, when you buy an Android, you can get a $50 Android. iPhones are kind of expensive. Well, now you can get a $50 iPhone. It's the 3GS. But still.
Well, 3GS is still very solid. The only thing you're really losing is the resolution and some of the bells and whistles like the FaceTime.
Yeah, the processor's a little slower.
You can make calls on the 3GS too.
Hey!
I mean, that's a bonus, surely.
Yeah. Well, you can hold the 3GS any way you
That's
want.
right,
Yeah.
you can. I mean, that's not a bad price. If you read the Engadget story, you'd think that people were being forced into buying it. There's a lot of rage in the internet, I've noticed.
Yeah.
A lot of rage.
There's that's where people vent all of that pent-up frustration. Also today, the Star Wars Complete Sega Blu-ray news. Star Wars Complete Blu-ray has been announced. 30 hours of special features available for pre-order now, and it will be released in September.
That is good news. I've waited a long time to own 3 of those films.
Yes.
Have you really? I mean, this just in, George Lucas wants your money again for the same content.
You know what, though? It took so long for it to go from Laserdisc to DVD.
They're still polluted, though. They're still broken. They're still Greedo shooting first and all that tragedy that destroyed my youth.
But we're going to have to get over that, because unless you want to watch
Not
VHS...
You might have to. I'm living in Fantasyland.
Well, you can buy the 2 trilogies individually, so you don't have to buy the prequels if you don't want. They're $45 a piece, although the retail price suggested is $70, but they're $45 right now at Amazon pre-order, or $90 for the entire 6.
We can confirm that as big as the saga is, if you buy the entire package, you do not get a special edition disc that contains all the Red Letter Media fabulous reviews of the prequels. Sorry.
No, you do not. And you don't get the 3D version, which will be released again, too much hoopla, 3 or 4 years from now, and make you pay again.
What they should do is they should give you, if you're prepared to buy all 6, they should give you a massive discount. It should be cheaper than just buying the first 3.
Yeah.
That would work.
You should be able to trade in.
Yeah.
I want to trade in my old set of Star Wars DVDs for the new Blu-rays. All right, just one email. Daniel J. Summers wrote in and reflected the sentiments of many people who wrote into TNT at twit.tv over the break, saying, great job on the Best of TNT episode. The editing was stellar. I was rolling for a good bit of the episode. So huge thanks to Jason Howell for putting that together. A little applause.
Oh my gosh, Jason Howell is the
best of
unsung
TNT
hero
editing.
and the soul of the show.
And to Dan Luters, the person who composed our TNT theme song, who edited together that dancing bit at the very end. He just put that together for fun and sent it to us. And so brilliant. Big thanks to Dan as well. A little clap for Dan.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. Give him the clap.
All right. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Gazelle. If you are looking at all of these gadgets here at the Consumer Electronics Show thinking, you know what, I would like to buy all those and get rid of all the gadgets I have right now, go to Gazelle.com, put your gadgets up for sale. You can look up, they have over 200,000 unique items. And it's a great way to make money easy.
And let me
you
tell
don't
you,
have to work hard at it.
If there's ever a time to make you consider selling your old electronic crap, it's during CES. Where you're just like, I just don't want it. This is all old and busted.
Yeah.
Take it, Gazelle.
I'm just putting it on Gazelle.
Give me
I'm gonna
money.
make a couple $100, and I'm done. I'm out. Yeah, they'll even send you a box if you're really lazy like me. But you just go on, you look up your gadget, you tell them what condition it's in. They'll quote you a price. You send it in to them. As long as it fits what you said, as long as you were honest, you'll get that money. They'll send you that check. They can send it to you by PayPal. You can get an Amazon gift certificate. There's all kinds of cool ways to get paid, actually. You can have it donated to charities even if you want. Gazelle's been around since 2006. They're trustworthy. In fact, even if you can't make money, if they're like, you know what, this isn't worth anything, they'll still take the gadget and recycle it for you. So if you're worried about it going into a landfill or something like that, it's another good way to get rid of gadgets. And as a Tech News Today listener, you get 5% more money than everyone else.
It's the reverse of the usual offer. Instead of 5% off, you get 5% on top of.
5% more cash in your pocket by using the offer code TNT. Go to Gazelle.com and try it out. Before we wrap up, just some quick impressions of CES. This is the first official day, but it feels like we're almost halfway or more than halfway over. Ian, starting with you, Best and worst thing you've seen so far?
I have hardly had a chance to look around. I genuinely was blown away by the Sony goggles. I think that's amazing. They've got some really cool glasses-less 3D stuff that actually is kind of worth seeing for the first time. The worst, I don't know, that noise over there probably, that deafening, thudding,
just the
monotonous
noise itself,
drone.
all over the place.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. John, what about you?
Okay, so the best thing I think I've seen was it was a telescope over at Celestron, I think is the name of the company. They have a product called Sky Project where it will automatically align the telescope to point in the direction you want it to point in, so you can look at the stuff you like. And it's a really innovative way of doing it. They have a digital camera that's aligned in the same direction as the telescope. And what it does is it'll point the telescope in a random direction, take a picture, point it a second direction, take a picture, a third direction, take a picture, and then it knows where you are in relation to all the stars. And then you can program it saying, I want to look at Jupiter. And it'll turn, and it turns anyone into an astronomer. You don't have to know, I need to turn it 3 degrees to the left. And as someone who's really interested in science and interested in seeing other people get into science, I thought it was an amazing approach. So I was really, really happy to see that. As for the worst is whenever you go between reporters and free food.
When I do?
Anyone.
true.
The worst thing is trying to get in between that train wreck.
Yeah.
Is what he's saying.
I've lost a toe.
And it
3
was
years ago, and I found it this year.
In a burger.
Yeah.
Inside the wrap.
That scrum, when you go up the press room for, see the journalist room, oh my God, they're angry people, angry.
It's like the bit in the producers. Like, reporters are people. Have you ever eaten with one?
Not yet.
So today we hit the central floor first, which is all the biggest names, which unfortunately means the least surprising announcements. So almost everything I saw today was not terribly surprising. It was evolutionary as the best. I am so done with 3D. I'm actively angry with 3D. 3D stereo surround, 3D with glasses, without glasses. It's all not where it needs to be. Wake me up when it's made the evolutionary leap that it needs to. The only thing I really liked on the central floor was the technology for the augmented reality. These glasses that have cameras in the front and screens behind it that remap your world around you. You're seeing your world, but it adds, they have dancing robots and rocket ships taking off, all that stuff. I think that has the potential to, down the road, be something absolutely amazing. I'm most excited about tomorrow trying to see some of the stuff here in the South Hall, which are smaller, more boutique arrangements. For example, MakerBot is here. They got some devices that are able to send out an SOS signal no matter where you are, whether there's cell signal or not. That's the stuff I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
I think the thing, I really like those augmented reality glasses myself. Those are pretty cool. I also saw a thing called Wowie Audio, which is a proprietary gel that is around the insides of the speaker. It's an external speaker for your phone or your iPod or your Zune, and when you place it on a surface, it creates bass so that you get this really full Bose audio type of sound. It's not perfect sound, but it sounds good. And I thought that was really impressive. I also like that the Motorola tablet dock or laptop dock for the Atrix. I think that's pretty impressive. My least favorite things is the stupid stuff that we've seen over and over, and people trying to push it as new. Like this year we've got the hybrid U1 from Lenovo. I like that product, but don't try to tell me that it's a new product. It's the same one you had last year.
It's literally the same one. Like they air dusted it off. You're like, take it back out.
It's the one where you can remove the screen and it turns into a tablet, and then it docks back in and becomes a laptop. Well, the only thing they've changed is that the tablet form factor now is Android-based instead of just proprietary Linux. That's cool. Focus on that, but I shouldn't pick on the U1 because I actually love that product, but it's the first example I could think of. There are plenty of others, products that I don't even care about, which is why I can't remember them, where they're just like, hey, look at this, brilliant microwave.
It's all the flying cars you're tired of seeing promised year after year after year.
All right, not another jetpack.
Brian Brushwood, host of NSFW Show,
right here on the TWiT network,
Scam School, and Frame Rate.
That's right, with one Tomas Merritt.
Thanks for being on, man. It's good to have you on Tech
First
News
time ever on
today.
TNT is a blast. I'd love to come back sometime.
John Strickland, HowStuffWorks.com. We're the Tech Stuff Podcast. What else can you tell people about finding you?
Well, that's pretty much, that wraps it up for me. Although, I do like to pimp out our iPhone app. every chance I get, because I really think I think our team did an amazing job on it. It collects all of our podcasts and blogs and even thousands of our articles all together in one package, where normally you would have to go to different sites in order to experience all this, because our website's just not built to hold all of that information. So even though it's not hard to find it if you're right there at a computer, this makes it really easy to access on your iPhone or iPod Touch.
Great to see you in person.
It is nice to be here.
And have you on the show in like 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
With the tablets.
And surround sound.
And social network.
Yep.
Ian Morris, also great to see you. It's too bad I only ever get to see you at CES.
I know, and it's an honor.
But let folks know what you're up to at CNET UK.
Yes, you should come by. You should check out our CES coverage, unique British angle, sarcasm occasionally, rudeness maybe, and you should listen to the CNET UK podcast.
Excellent. Thanks you folks for watching. Our CES coverage continues right here on TWiT. We really do have live coverage. I promise. Live.twit.tv. They're working it out right now. Leo will be here. He'll be interviewing folks. You know, the thing is, like, Tech News Today had to get here early because that's when all the press stuff happens. But Leo's going to be here through the thick of the show today, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you're going to get plenty of perspectives on the Consumer Electronics Show at live.twit.tv. Of course, you can find our show on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Send us your thoughts on CES. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see more of. TNT at twit.tv. And of course, you can give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. We will see you tomorrow live from Las Vegas.